I'm going on a trip.
Oh, you know.
Hey everyone, it's Chris. This is the Dad Raising Podcast. I'm going on a trip. I'm going to Thursday Island for a week. Can't wait to tell everyone all about it when I go back. But in the meantime, I've got Simon and Pete here. We're going to talk about cleaning contracts, fussy eaters, and of course what's on your playlist. All the music listening to is by Dorah Jacson. Please support her. We love her. Hit her up on all your social media and Spotify and listen. And she's got a new track coming on March the 6th. Let's go. Don't you love it when the internet's divided?
Is it ever not?
Well, you know, it seems to be more and more divided these days. I read this article. I put it on our chat about a mum who gave her 3 kids a cleaning contract because she was fed up with the mess that they were leaving behind, and all sorts of pretty gross stuff, like the obvious stuff like dirty clothes and not making their beds. But she was finding used plates in the back of the wardrobe, and you can imagine the types of socks and things that were also found with boys, and milk bottles, and like off milk bottles, so rubbish.
Used chopping board was one of them.
Used chopping board, yeah. So these bizarre, dirty, filthy things. So she's, I think she's a cleaner by trade. So she's come up with this cleaning contract. She's charging them $10 a pop for a breach of the contract. I think the youngest is loses her phone privileges or something like that as part of it. The boys have jobs, and this has divided the internet because some people think that she's being far too harsh, and other people think that it's awesome. She's establishing values for her kids as they grow up and stuff like that. The thing that I had to read this twice, because I read through it and went, well, that seems pretty reasonable. Some kind of cleaning contract, an agreement. You might disagree with some of the things that are on the contract, perhaps. But the thing that caught my eye is that both the boys are adults. They're 18 and 19 years old.
Yeah.
And once I realised that, I was like, there shouldn't be any division here.
No.
These are adults earning a living in their mum's home.
Yeah.
Clean your fucking room.
I think that's what I did. When I read it, it was all about perspective, totally. I read the first thing and I read the opening of the article and thought, oh, this is a bit harsh. Like $10 per infringement. Oh, geez, these kids won't have any money in their money boxes. Yeah. And then I did the same thing and read that they were both grown boys who've got jobs. The daughter's 13. It's a little bit younger. And just went, why are you hiding plates in the back of your wardrobe from your mother at 19 years old?
It almost takes more effort to hide the plate than it does just to walk it out to the sink.
But people's disgust at her doing that.
Oh, how dare she impose such strict standards? One comment was about how I would feel like I'd failed as a parent.
Yeah, that's the one that stuck with me.
If I had to go to these lengths.
Nice helpful comment on the internet. If I had to do that, I failed as a parent. Oh, that's useful, but I am in that situation and I need a solution. I was wondering whether, especially with the boys in the house, both being 18 or over, both out working, has she just not managed to set some kind of rent or board guidelines with her sons, and she's not able to do that? She doesn't feel comfortable. I don't know, maybe she's like, if I set a rent on them, these boys are going to leave. And maybe she doesn't want them to leave. And so she goes, well, but I still want some money out of them. So now every time I find a plate, they've got to pay me $10. And perhaps that's part of it. It's just maybe making a bit of money out of them when really they should be paying their way as well. Yeah. At that age.
I guess it is that balance, isn't it? As a parent, you want to be helping out. You want to be supporting them. And so they're not career professionals. They're apprentices, from what I gather from the articles. So they're not earning big bucks or anything. So, okay, so you don't want to charge them rent or whatever. But clearly, I think she may have been alluded to it, that she had let it slip. That life gets busy. You in hindsight, perhaps she would have gone, hey, look, when you turn 18, these are the things I'm going to expect that you start doing.
No more plates in the wardrobe.
No more plates in the wardrobe.
No more chopping boards.
Mouldy chopping boards should go in the dishwasher. Little things like that would have been helpful. But it's an interesting thing to think about. Like we don't have a strict routine in our house for cleaning, but we have Wednesday nights is you got to tidy your room, you got to pack your toys up, you got to do, so that each week there's that process of things that happen. Heidi and I disagree a little bit on details. For instance, I don't really care whether Thomas makes his bed. Yeah, it's not a big deal for me. But cleaning up your toys, sorting out his own washing, all that sort of stuff. They're things that it's a weekly routine. It does make you think though, when they get older, when do you start to do more responsibilities, or what are the expectations for those teens who are essentially adults, but they're still living at home?
I've got into becoming a bit of a nag at the moment, I've got to say.
I've got into it.
I'm
really keen on this.
I've just taken up the first sort of nag milestone, I think, having a 10-year-old and, saying the same thing over and over and over again with little or no result for the next time, and some of the stuff I find myself nagging about, really shouldn't be nag worthy, but time constraints, said it before, gone through all the what do you need to do with this now, like it's just that you're 10 years old now, mate. You've just got to do it without being told. It's not rocket science, and the loss of things that aren't getting put away properly in the first place, and then getting upset because the new sunglasses got left on the floor and then someone stepped on them, kind of thing. When I say new sunglasses, I mean giveaway at something or other, But no, well, but that kind of thing, Oh, but I really liked those sunglasses. Well, I dig this contract a bit, like.
You charging him?
No, I wouldn't do that. But it is that. It is that thing that where it's got to that point now, and I sort of see what this lady's let it slip. Because what's the next step now to actually make sure that independence is coming and looking for those things? I play the find 10 things before we leave game. Find 10 things that aren't in the right place. Yeah. Put them in the right place, and then that's 10 things you have to do less next time.
I like that one. That's good.
That's cool.
And that can work for any room. Oh well, I've done my room. Wow. You
can do my room.
My kids are incredible readers and drawers and creators and stuff like that. And, so you can walk into our lounge room at any point in time and there could possibly be 4 books, 6 sketchbooks, pencils, just, left all in all these different places. And it's kind of like they're kind of like little pinball machines. They'll walk past and then they'll just pick up the book that was there from 2 days ago, and it doesn't matter how many times you say put the book back in your room, they still just float back out. So they kind of just wander from book to book and pick it up and start reading it, and then off they go again. Oh, come on, mate. Not reading now, but Dad, most parents like their kids to read. Yes, this is true. But most parents probably don't have the volume of books to pick up that I've got to pick up.
But I think it's there's some sort of balance between not neglect of items, but just not thinking about it and just bone idle laziness. Oh. And that's where that situation comes in. I remember a mate of mine when I was early 20s would go back to his mum's house on the weekend, and we'd all go back with him, and his bedroom was upstairs. Then changed. He didn't live there anymore. I was disgusted as a 23-year-old man who didn't have the most amazing cleaning skills myself. Our flat was horrendous, but you could not see the carpet in his bedroom. Like, you'd walk in and it was all clothes. They were like 2 suitcases, wide open, like they'd exploded. And they were glasses of half-drunk Coke and plates. But I'm pretty confident that his mum, when he wasn't there, would go in and do a bit of the clean-up for him. Yeah. And so, why do it? So, again, that's a parental thing, the balance between it. I think some of the outrage on this particular incident with this lady was just, really, as usual with internet commentary, either just really aggressive or really unhelpful.
Or what you only read the headline and went to town on the headline without reading the full article. With that perspective,
and going, well, what you should have done was taught them those skills when they were younger. Oh, well, that's useful right now. Now that we're 6 years down the line.
Look, you can teach them those skills.
They're not going to
take them on. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to voluntarily do it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's still hard work. You can teach them the skills. You can tell them to do it. But as like teenage boys are difficult to motivate to do that sort of stuff anyway. It's not, like I empathize with her as well as wonder what I'll do at the same point, to avoid that happening. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
But don't you have a crux? A cleaning maintenance-y crux?
Explain.
Yeah, in what sense?
I absolutely hate mowing the lawn to the point that I will look for any excuse.
It looks like rain.
It's not even. Not
rain
even
on Wednesday.
No.
It rained last week, so it's still too wet to mow the lawn.
Oh, that you've got it, pal. I've got that Sir Walter grass that just really holds the water in there, and it just grows into everything. And
I love mowing the lawn.
There's 4 different lawns. There's it's not just one big one out the front and one big one out the back. There's 4 little patches of
I got 4 different spots.
And do you know what?
Gets me out of the house. Do you know what? I love it.
My street, manicured lawns, perfect, beautiful. Right. I was out the front mowing the lawn the other day, right, and the guy across the road pulls up in his car and goes to me, "Hey Pete, should I take a photo?" I was like, "Mate, you get back in your house, pal."
He knows you're under pressure. You're on a contract to mow that lawn.
No, it's well known amongst.
I don't really like doing. There's lots of jobs I don't like doing.
But what was there one that you just really grinds your gears? That like this kid obviously doesn't like cleaning his room. That's his crux. He might be excellent at mowing the lawns.
But I don't think it is. I don't think it's just that he's going, "Oh, I just can't keep this room tidy." If he's hiding stuff in cupboards and wardrobes, there's something else going on there as well. Like, that's weird. I mean, I don't understand why you'd be hiding it from your parents when it's going to be found. As you said, it'd be easier to take the plate down. But then, my thought with it was, instead of the monetary threat, which obviously works for her kids. They're working, they don't want to lose their money, and a lot of kids would be the same. You're earning money, you don't want to be paying that back for, minute little mistakes you've made. But maybe it could be things like teaching them a skill alongside the punishment. Okay, so the next time I find more than 3 old shirts in your room, you've got to do the washing, hang it out and bring it in.
And I'll teach you how to iron it.
And I mean, it's a whole load of extra work for the parent, and you're going to get a whole lot more complaints from the kid. But I suppose at least you're then teaching them that skill as well, so that they can do that when they go out into the wider world, maybe.
Do you like ironing?
I don't iron anything. I use the basis that I live in Australia and it's warm and the creases come out. Do you know what? Can I just say, when I lived back in the UK, and sometimes you iron to actually dry your clothes because the clothes take so long to dry. I loved it. I do. Okay. I loved getting a crease out of a nice shirt.
See.
I know you're annoyed that I don't have a job.
I don't mind ironing. I quite like that. Yeah. I find I just can't let this mowing thing go. I find nothing satisfying in mowing a lawn. You got to have something that you just don't do it. Surely there's something that Chris, you get nagged about.
I don't get nagged about. The biggest thing for us is more just the split of the jobs. and this whole balance of is it a blue job or a pink job, and a very old-fashioned, which we don't. We don't have a list.
And you better do all the blue jobs before you start ragging out the pink jobs.
We don't have a specific list of blue or pink jobs until there's a job that I haven't done and is clearly a blue job that should have been done by me. And then I go, well, hang on a second. Imagine if I just said to you and said, well, hang on a second, that bathroom looks disgusting. The bathroom hasn't been done for weeks. And she says, well, but there's 14 bin bags in the laundry that you haven't taken out. I don't like doing some jobs, but there's no job that I look at and go, oh, God, I've got to do that again. Most things are done pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I don't mind doing I don't mind
procrastinate on anything.
I don't mind doing the dishwasher.
No, procrastinate on lots of things. There's not one particular thing that I hate doing most. What I do hate is when it has to be done and I've already made plans to do something else.
Everyone hates that job.
That's the bit. That's the bit that I hate most.
That's the shitty job when it's yeah. No, even with the recording. Even with
we're recording. It doesn't matter.
Even with the
recording so that we can
small little my little mower. I love the job. I'm one of those people who gets pleasure out of seeing those things done. Like a visual aspect of just seeing that nice line of grass. The visual aspect of using the gurney to clean something, clean the tiles or something. So
no. That's fine with me. I'll gurney, right? People go, oh, I hate painting houses. I'll paint a house. I'd rather paint a house. I'd rather paint a house than mow the lawn.
All right, next time my house needs painting, I'll get you in and I'll mow your lawn.
I'll mow your lawn.
Quid pro quo. No, I just can't do it. I hate mowing. And at the moment, every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Bloody range. You look outside the next day. She's
4 days, yeah. The last couple of
give
weeks.
me a break.
No, I'm loving it. I'm like, oh, sorry, I've got to go out again. Look at it. It's like a jungle out there.
Too late. Fussy eating?
Yeah, we can go down the fussy eating.
Do you have a story to start, or
I do have a story to start.
All right, when you're ready.
I was chatting to a mate of mine who I was on the phone to him, and he was got his twin daughters, and they had a friend over to sleep over, you know. And he said to the mother of the other child, because it was a bit of a rush thing, you know, when kids have play dates or whatever, and then they say, "Oh, come on, we do a sleepover," and it's just a bit like that. He goes, and he said, let's just say it was lasagna. He goes, "Yeah, we're having lasagna for dinner. Does your kid eat lasagna?" "Yep, eats anything." Right. you know where this is going.
Famous last words.
Famous last words. Right. And then gets there and goes, the kid goes, "Oh yeah, I don't really like meat. I eat meat. Is there meat in it? Yes, there's beef in it. Oh, I rather chicken." Right. Then said mate goes and cooks a bit of chicken, and the child ate it. He said, "Oh, do you want salad, or do you want, you know, making a salad to go with the lasagna kind of thing? Do you eat salad? Do you eat?" I eat cheese, you know, and so this conversation kind of he hung up because it got to a point where he's like, "Look, I just got to get this dinner done. I'll ring you back," you know. And so I remember when I was a kid, if I had a friend come over for dinner or something like that, and my mum cooked and they didn't like something. Fussy eater, right? My mum would write them off. There'd still be that. There's still those conversations. Like, "Oh, do you remember such and such from high school?" Yeah. "Oh, I had a baby. Oh, I hope the kid's still as fussy as he is." That kind of thing. Or
I didn't eat my lasagna that time.
The other one was where he's had at the table. That's the other one that comes up. Oh, where he's at the table. All right, 20 years later, where he's at the table. So, like, my kids aren't that fussy. Like, we've always just put things in front of them. there's certainly things that they don't like, and there's certainly things that I think to myself, you have the old adage, you haven't really tried it.
Yeah.
You know, give it a go. And then when they come home and they say, like peanut butter, my boys don't like peanut butter. Lots of people don't like peanut butter. I get it. But then they come home and go, oh, we had peanut butter M&Ms. Well, what's that about?
Yeah, it can't be chocolate. You can't. You know.
So, fussy food. Do you guys have fussy eaters? Do you guys have fussy?
No,
No.
not at all. We are extremely lucky with Jude. Jude eats everything and eats loads of it. We can't feed him enough. We're yet. He turns 5 in a couple of weeks, and we have yet to find a food that he won't eat.
Wow.
He eats on fruit, veggies. I've never known a kid like it. We will put a plate of dinner down for him of an evening. Fish and chips, something like that. Salad on the side. We'll eat through the entire veggies and salad first. Very rarely we'll go out for dinner, but like sometimes we'll go like for a pub meal. Kids, nuggets and chips. We'll eat all the cucumber, tomato, salad first before he gets into the chips. I've never known any, and I don't know, it's nothing, I don't think it's anything we've done. You know, we're both very good eaters. Amy's an amazing cook, so that helps in that sense. But he's almost sort of bolder and braver than I am. I'm not a particularly fussy eater, but you probably know of being my friend, I don't eat much in the way of fruit. Anything that ends in "erry" is out the window for me.
So you're the fussy eater.
What's
made you fussy?
I don't know. Like, I think the fruit side of things, you're more likely to eat really nice fruit, I think, if you grow up in Australia. That sounds like a really vague statement.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I know what the fruit and veg is like in the UK.
And nothing against it, but we just weren't. We didn't have the opportunity to have that kind of stuff. I'm fussy on anything that is like texturally different. So I don't eat berries because they got like seeds and pips. Strawberries to me taste like you're just eating sand. I don't like oranges because I don't like the rind, the white bit that sits around the outside. That's just way too fiddly and annoying. Mushrooms is probably my least favourite food, again because of the sliminess. And it was never a massive thing. I also look and go, I'm not a fussy eater. I always think I'm not.
Oh, my mum's the same. My mum doesn't think she's a fussy eater.
Yeah.
But she is.
But mushrooms, like you look at mushrooms and go, well, you don't have it in a lot of stuff. So it's not like your whole weekly meal plan is out the window. And people say to me all the time, well, you don't eat fruit. I'm like, no. Like, well, what do you do when you get like a dessert? Like, if you have to order a dessert when you're out somewhere at a restaurant. Well, just pick the thing that doesn't have fruit on it. Like, it's not hard, is it? And everyone puts it on me that I'm like putting everybody else out. Well, it's not. It's just fruit. I'll eat bananas, grapes, sometimes a melon, apples. So yeah, Jude, going back to children. We're very,
this
very
is
lucky.
way more intriguing. I just want to start naming foods and go, yes or no.
All right, I can't believe we've never had this conversation. So another one that people always get at me for is meat. Like if you have to eat it off the bone. So like spare ribs or like drumsticks. Can't handle it. I don't like the texture of biting down onto the bone. That freaks me out a little bit. And it's too picky. Like a drumstick. Do you like chicken drumsticks?
Love them.
Do you?
Love them.
It's all gristling crap and
wings.
No. Do you know what? I didn't have KFC. Not that this is a bad thing. I didn't have a KFC until I was about 26 because I was just like, well, it's chicken wings, isn't it?
Yeah.
Chicken wings and drumsticks. And then my mates were like, well, no, you just get chicken strips. I'm like, what do you mean chicken strips? They're like, it's just chicken in crumbed batter. My life has changed. I had KFC every night that week, I think.
Opened up your world with a whole new Chris.
So just wonderful.
What about avocado?
No, I like avocado.
You like avocado? Yeah. See, I think that's slimy.
But
oh, hang on.
Not
there's a caveat here.
There's a lot. No, not a caveat. It's just it is to a point, but it's got a bit of bite to it, which are so do mushrooms, I suppose. So it's not really. I don't actually like the flavour of mushrooms. So then my mum was really good with it. Again, my mum's a wonderful cook and cooked lots for us. And the attitude at home was you eat it. And so most things. I remember one day when I was a kid. And I would have been 7 or 8, and I sat at the dinner table after a Sunday lunch for about 2.5 hours after everybody had left the table, and I wasn't allowed to leave the table because I wouldn't eat my rhubarb and custard. Because rhubarb as well, what the hell is that? That's just... that's like straight... That's just like celery in fruit
old
form.
English dessert.
Rhubarb and custard, yeah.
Rhubarb
That's
and
celery in fruit form. Which is celery shit as well. So, but that was the rule in our house, and I ended up eating it all. So my mum would then say to me, my mum would actually say, oh, we're having spaghetti bolognese for dinner tonight. Oh, yes. Oh, I've put mushrooms in it. So she'd add this little... I'm like, oh, what for? She's like, well, you won't taste them. So I said, why'd you put them in there? Because they add flavour. I'm like, that's just an absolute nonsense statement. You've just got... You're a hypocrite, mother.
Which one of those things is a lie?
Exactly. I used to get so furious about it, but I'd eat it. And if I go to someone's place and they've cooked something and there's mushrooms in it, as long as they're not huge, I can get away with it. If it's in a chili or a spag bol, there's enough other stuff that you can mix in. You can take small mouthfuls and not freak out too much. But sometimes, I remember going to a mate's house. Here's another story. A mate's house when I was probably about 18 or 19. We went back to his dad's house from uni for the weekend, and his dad's like, oh, I've made burgers. I was like, sweet. And he goes, but they're kind of like an open burger. It's a bit like an open sandwich. I was like, okay, fine. So we got there, and it was a burger on top of the top of the bun. So the top of the bun was upside down. So the dome of the bun was sitting on the plate upside down, and then the burger was on top of it. And I was like, this is totally weird, but hey-ho, whatever. Cut into it, massive cut into it, ate it. It wasn't a bun. It was a massive mushroom sitting upside down underneath of it. And I just went, how am I going to do this? I was in the States once. I went to the States when I was in school, and I was in a homestay, and the family were just wonderful. And I woke up one morning, they were cooking pancakes, and I could smell them, and I was like, this is amazing. You're in America, getting pancakes for breakfast. We didn't do it a lot in Wales. This is a real American experience, pancakes for breakfast. I went down, they put pancakes on my plate. I was like, yes. The mum walked over with this bowl and just scooped the biggest load of blueberries all over my pancakes. And I was in the same boat. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do here. I ended up like eating the pancakes with the blueberry juice all over them and leaving the majority of the blueberries. Because I've got that awkwardness as well of not just wanting to say to someone,
hold the blueberries.
You do it. Like, I can't tell someone I don't want it, but then I have to just battle through it. So if there's any other food you want to ask about, I'm sure we could make a whole segment out of this. But let's ask Chris.
Chris. I like this new segment.
Weekly segment.
Food Simon doesn't eat.
And yet I classify myself as not a fussy eater.
Thomas is a pretty good eater. We didn't think he was going to be when he was like early on. We thought he was going to end up being really fussy, but we made a pretty conscious effort. As soon as he was able to, he just eats what we eat. So whatever we've never gone down the separate meal sort of thing. We've always done, this is what we're having for dinner, and you're having the same thing. Quantity might change. Ratios of what's served up might change, but if we're having this, you're having that too. And Heidi's been really good at getting him to, introducing him to new food too. So we're really lucky, but we did put effort into that. We can pretty much go to any restaurant, and he'll be able to find something that he's happy with. So that's, we've been really, really fortunate. But it was interesting when he was born, we watched a documentary on fussy eaters. And there was this doctor who was like, don't worry if your kid's fussy, just let him eat. Yeah. But the things that they were letting the kids eat, I just couldn't get my head over. Like this kid who would only eat nuggets and chips. And so the parents were just buying them nuggets and chips for every meal. And this doctor's theory was one day they'll grow out of it, they'll eat new stuff. But
if they survive,
and I just that just didn't sit well. And I kind of get that, maybe you can be too tough, and all right, so their range of foods will grow as they get older, but there's also a limit to what you can accept Like it was sort of and that just never sat well with me. Just no, just feed them whatever they're going to eat and that's it.
Yeah, I've heard that one too. But I'm just of the mind that if you just keep giving it to them, one day they'll break.
One day they'll have to eat because they'll be starving. You know what? You're having it again tonight.
Well, that's it. Like when we went and had our puppy trained, the puppy trainer was like, "Don't change foods. Your dog's not fussy. A dog is if a dog gets fed, it will never die of starving. It'll never die of starvation. Do you know what I mean?"
Yeah.
And I was like, that sounds about right for kids too. You know, like at some point they're going to get so hungry that they're going to have to turn and eat, maybe.
but I think you do. Amy mentioned a few weeks ago that she'd read some Facebook post in which there were all these hilarious responses. Some man would put up that she'd had a really difficult afternoon with her kid and they'd refused to eat. And I think that as well, like the complete refusal to eat certain things, we've never had to deal with that.
Yeah.
So I think we count ourselves lucky, and we don't know the other side of it.
Yeah.
We've got experience. We've got friends of ours whose children are quite fussy eaters, and it's very, very awkward. And we can see the difficulty that they go through and the worry that they go through in terms of their children's health. You know, I know you were saying about having those nuggets and chicks over and over again. You know, there are concerns over the health of that child. Yes, eventually they might get to 18 and 19 and go, oh, look, I'm actually going to have a Caesar salad for lunch. Yeah. And all of a sudden start eating greens. But they're 18 by that point. Their insides can't be looking good or acting or responding very well. And again, it's led us into the conversation of how awkward is that going to be as you move forward into situations like going to friends' house for sleepovers, going on school camp. You know, as an experience we've all had as teachers with some of those students who are quite fussy, you know, and we're looking going, well, they're going to find that very, very difficult. But, you know, Amy was saying some of these stories that, again, it comes down to a little bit what we talked about with the mum in the initial conversation we had about the cleaning thing. Sometimes you're just exhausted and you're tired and you just go, do you know what? Just eat.
Let's have nuggets and chips.
Let's have nuggets and chips. But this story was saying things like, my child ate 3 Doritos and a cheese slice for dinner tonight. I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's pushing the boundaries of...
You know what I am jealous of, though, is that Jude will eat everything and eat it quickly.
Yep.
Because our biggest issue at dinner time is not the food, it's just how freaking long it takes to eat it. We go to a restaurant and he gets spaghetti bolognese or whatever he's going to have, smashed, gone in no time.
Yeah.
Sit at the dinner table at home. Oh my god.
Do you guys have dinner together every night?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you always done that as well? Or?
Pretty much.
Yeah. See, we're sort of at the point where Jude's probably bedtime wise is getting a bit later, so he can stay. For us, it's always been Jude's eating, shower, bed, and then we have dinner afterwards. Yeah. But he's really enjoying the experience of sitting down at the table with us. And again, although, you know, I am talking from an experience of being very lucky with his food, you can see the improvement again. Sometimes dinners do take a long time with him, especially if he's distracted or he's telling a story or there's music on, he wants to sing the song. But that's fine with me, as I said. As long as he gets to the end of his food and it's not 10 o'clock, then we're all good. But we can't feed him enough at the moment. He'll have almost a full dinner of, you know, veggies and lasagna. Lasagna is his favourite food. He classifies lasagna, sushi and pizza as his 3 favourite meals. And then he'll sit down and he'll be in front of the TV before bed, you know, and go, can I have something to eat? What do you want? Oh, can I have like
sushi?
Cheese and crackers or like an apple or something? And you go, well, yeah, I suppose it's an
sushi's
apple.
a really interesting one. Would sushi have been on any of your favourite lists?
No,
never.
But sushi's such a high one these days.
I don't think I had sushi much before Jude experienced sushi, to be honest.
But do you eat sushi now?
Yes.
I thought the seaweed texture might...
Yeah, I actually thought the seaweed texture might freak your tiny little brain out.
You know, not that long ago, it must have been 2 weeks ago, my youngest, 8 years old, made 2 consecutive meals solo.
Wow.
Right? Cut, cooked, everything. Not like... We didn't do one thing. Right?
So just following a recipe?
No.
Just made it?
cooked spaghetti bolognese one night. Just got zucchini, got the onions,
was it edible?
Yeah. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, I was in a bit of a hurry. I was like, Marley, can you just make me some breakfast? What do you want? I don't know. Do you want scrambled eggs? Yep, bang. No scrambled eggs.
I'm in a bit of a rush.
Right.
So you think, or just have like an apple. What do you want? Well, I was thinking maybe scrambled eggs, maybe a bit of smoked salmon. You're not really in a rush, are you?
And do you know what the other thing that we've been doing is? There's a particular company that sends food in a box.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. We got one of those free boxes.
Yep.
And the instructions are that good in there, and there's no waste. Like it's kind of expensive, but when you look at it, we get so if you buy a box of 3 meals, and then you've got enough for lunch the next day for 2 adults. So when you start stretching it out like that, and the kids have not turned their nose up at one thing, they love it. So we kind of just doing it every 2 or 3 weeks now, just to bring something new into the the mix.
And you get those cards that have the recipes on it, but you keep the cards and you go, well, we can make that ourselves another time. And
the boys can do it themselves.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's pretty good. Yeah. I'm pretty happy with it. You know, like it's kind of, maybe we should just do it again next week, but we don't. So we have 3 in a week. We'll have 3 of those meals. They take about half an hour to make. It's all fresh. There's no waste. It all gets eaten.
And the kids are doing it all.
And no, the kids aren't doing it all.
You're lying back on the lounge going, geez, that was a good spaghetti bolognese. Will you move these frigging books?
Yeah. and by the way, can you get those dishes done pronto? It's part of the contract. Cool. So Simon, what's on your playlist?
So I've got a podcast, but it's kind of an interesting one because it's a BBC podcast, so you can't actually access it in Australia. So apologies to anyone in Australia who listens to our podcast.
There's got to be a way or a means, surely.
Well, the way I access it is through my dad. As you know, Dad and I have a great affinity for music, and we share as much music stuff as we can. And this is a music podcast. It's called Blood on the Tracks.
That's a Bob Dylan album.
It is a Bob Dylan album. So obviously we're in a music show. The idea of Blood on the Tracks is because people are pouring their heart out about music that they love. Now, when I first got the idea, I was like, okay, you got 4 celebrities or 4 well-known people, quite often musicians, in a room with the presenter. And you think, okay, well, they're just going to talk about their favourite album or their favourite song or things like that. But he switches it up, and so all the questions are very different. So you got things like, and I really wish I could remember so many of the good ones, but I found a couple of examples. So if Elvis had lived, what song do you wish he would cover? What song would you like Elvis to cover if he was around now? Questions like, if you could be in row A, seat 15, for any gig in history, what would you pick? Who are music's greatest siblings? What's the best song containing a day of the week? And so they go around the table on these topics, and everybody picks a song. And so you get this massive range of music. People taking, again, talk about perspective, people taking the question in a huge amount of different ways. You know, some of them are just things like, what's the best female vocal in a song? The best female vocal. And you've got people picking Aretha Franklin, and you've got people picking Beyonce, because that's their generation. And so the generation of the guests has an impact as well. He does a round, which is where the guest gives them their phone or their iPod, if it's still available, and he just hits shuffle.
Yeah,
and the first thing that plays, you have to talk through it and explain why it's on there.
That's cool.
And it goes through like a bit of a competition. He eventually picks the person he thinks has chosen the best music or the most varied music, and they get to play the show out with a song of their choice. But it's a really different take on listening to music, and it gets you thinking heaps. You know, I often, as soon as the question comes up, I'll pause the podcast. So Dad sends it to me on a USB. He'll like 15 episodes in a go and send a USB over to me. And when the question is asked, I'll often pause and give myself, 20 minutes.
2 hours.
Even to think, what song would I pick then? And then go back and listen and go, shit, I should have picked that one. The first person picks a song. Well, why the hell did I not pick Stevie Wonder for that or whatever? But if you can access it somehow through a different podcast way. It's a BBC podcast, Blood on the Tracks, presented by Colin Murray. Well worth your time if you're into music.
This is kind of off topic, but I often use Blood on the Tracks as an example for my students, because Blood on the Tracks is one of the Dylan albums. I think he released this after his divorce, and it's like this outpouring of emotion. And it's, when it came out, it was, people thought it was just Dylan, just raw, this raw emotion.
Yeah.
And the rumor is that they went into the recording studio and recorded it in a few days, and it was done. It was like one take, bang, 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 bang. And here it is, this raw thing. And I can't remember how the notebook got released, whether Dylan released it later or someone found it and released it. But there's this series of notebooks that he's written when he's been writing the lyrics and the songs for Blood on the Tracks. And it's hundreds and hundreds of pages with every line crossed out, changed, every song edited. And to me, it's always this example of you think genius is just snap and they're so good, they're so talented, let's do it. And here's Bob Dylan, like Nobel laureate, the supposed rawest material that he's ever released, but it was painstakingly thought through,
edited and
redone and scrapped. And so that's
a
always
good message for kids, definitely.
Yeah. Pete, what's on your playlist?
So I guess I've always said to you guys that I love stand-up comedy and listening to stand-up comedy as much as you guys would listen to music. And what I found out was that on Apple Music, if you're a student, because I'm a student, you get it for like $6 a month. But it's not as good as other things. As other carriers, so you kind of got to pick and choose what you're listening to. So I've pretty much gone through over the last, since say October, November last year, I've pretty much gone through and listened to nearly every stand-up comedian since Pryor, Richard Pryor, that I can find, because they don't just have a category on there saying stand-up comedy. And it's really interesting. It's been really interesting for me just listening to the word smithery, I guess you would say, about how there's some that are really rehearsed, really refined, come out and you can tell they've done it 1,000 times. And then you listen to a couple of different albums that they have, and you hear the same jokes and the same threads coming through, and how they refine it as time goes on and things like that. And it just is completely obvious to me that I much prefer UK comedians than Americans. I already knew that, but there's just a great thing there, and I've seen lots of them on those different talkie show kind of things, right? Yeah. So I've actually gone in. There's one American stand-up comedian that I just think is sensational. So he's mine, and it's Gary Gulman, Gulman, and you would have seen him on lots of memes or things that he says in memes, and you go, that's pretty funny. His delivery is amazing. He's slow, he's purposeful about how he delivers his punchlines and his jokes. There's threads that come back through regularly, so it's weaved through. And so Gary Gulman's my pick, but there's two others. Can I sneak them in as well?
Yep.
Danny Boy.
Oh yeah.
And John Bishop.
Yeah,
John Bishop, he's from Liverpool. I'll just put Danny Boy out there. I'm not going to go any further with him. John Bishop's a father of 3 boys. He was pretty working class, and he just talks about how his rise to fame took a long time, but when it got there, it went really fast, and how his family has adjusted to it. And he just tells some hilarious stories, like...
Yeah, because he'd be he was about mid-40s, I think, when it
Yeah.
came around, early 40s, mid-40s when it sort of hit. And it was just local man off the street, probably just telling, as a lot of people probably do, but just jokes in the pub.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he just found a niche. He was the comedian at the time when he blew up in the UK.
Yeah. And if you listen to him, he tells a great story about the time he was on Top Gear. And like they're just good storytellers, you know what I mean? So, and then you listen to some other people who I think are quite funny on those talk show kind of things, but their stand up is pretty much improvised, holus bolus. They go up there and it's just talking to the crowd and coming up with stuff, and then just weaving through to try and string some stories together. And it's, I guess when you're just listening to them, just their voices, and you don't have the visuals. It's just you know, there's some people that you can imagine what they're doing and what they're saying, but it's the words that have the power, not the body language. So my three are John Bishop, Gary Gulman, and Danny Boy, and a fourth cheeky one to be Rod Gilbert.
That's good. He's Welsh. You can sneak him in. What about you, Chris? Playlist?
I'm actually wearing my brand new Dorah Jacson merch.
Yes.
We should get a photo of it for the fans.
Dorah Jacson has a new track coming out on March the 6th. So this isn't a what's on my playlist now. This is what's going to be on my playlist in about a week.
Yeah.
All right. And I know that we'll have that track.
Excellent.
Too. So, yeah, can't wait for that one.
Fantastic.
That's it. That's us.
Cool.
Hey, if you've made it this far, then you are one of the people we're doing this for. If you like what we're doing, is there one other person who you think would enjoy the podcast too? We would love it if you recommended what we're doing to them. We love that you're listening. We'll see you next time.
Take me away.